Wahlotron, the corner Späti extension show where Julia and myself, Nick, try to explain German politics in the current, election year that we're in. We last time, Pauli and Jan from Hölle Hölle Hölle, a good left-wing German politics podcast, yeah. If you don't know them, they came and they chatted with us about the CDU and if it's going to be Armin Laschet or Markus Söder. And they decided, like literally the day after we released the episode, they decided that it is. You were right, Julia. I was wrong.
I know. I'm always right.
They trusted, NRV's finest. Armin Laschet to be the chancellor candidate
despite
in an election year where they
despite all the scandals.
And that he is polling horribly against everyone.
Yes.
And they I don't know how to see this. Like, I guess that we can give, like, the news is the fact that then Laschet is the candidate, and I guess my first reaction was obviously that then the CDU is much more concerned about then maintaining the dominance of, internal party politics, being that then of more importance than the fact of like actually winning and giving the reins to someone who is much further right wing than someone like Laschet. But I would probably also argue Markus Söder definitely embodies, I think, a lot of just the general CDU attitudes of politics. Like I don't. The CDU wants to pretend that they're a more progressive party because of Merkel, who isn't progressive, as we've argued. Laschet's like ideologically very similar to her, and Söder's like the far right, like someone like Merz, who we will get to in a minute.
Yeah. I'm thinking right now, did they ever have a CSU chancellor candidate? Actually.
Yeah.
Did they? Oh yeah, true. They did.
What's his name? Bavaria's king.
Oh,
Franz Josef Strauss.
Strauss, yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but Strauss is another level, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, like the thing of that is that Söder definitely is very popular. We've kind of, we discussed last week in the sense that last episode, that he kind of has been using his like Corona politic, which isn't actually good. Like, Bavaria is not doing better than other parts of Germany, which is kind of really funny. It's just that Söder's been
strict.
Yeah, just
very strict.
Strict. Yeah, but it's not like they've like contained COVID,
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really find this part that interesting, except for the fact that then I'm wrong. And
yeah, how does it feel, Nick?
It sucks. I've been wrong a lot actually recently. I've been wrong. I was wrong about not recently. I was wrong about Trump. Yeah. I was wrong about Söder. And Söder winning because I legitimately thought that the CDU was going to care much more about maintaining a government than possibly not even ending up in a coalition.
But yeah, I sometimes think with the Green polling that well,
yeah, they took over the CDU this week or last week.
Yeah, that they probably decided with someone who's more suitable for a possible coalition with the Greens, because the Greens, even though if they're not doing better than the CDU, can still do a minority chancellery.
I mean, they definitely are doing
a minority government with SPD and FDP, for example, or with Die Linke,
or with SPD. The CDU.
I know. I'm talking about the minority now, like in the sense of if they don't want to go in a coalition with the CDU, they have these options. Even if the CDU is doing better, if nobody wants to join the CDU because they won't do that well that they can be single party government, you know.
Yeah, they can't even do GroKo right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, which will be a very interesting
nobody
thing.
wants that anyway. I mean, nobody wanted
the
that
CDU
last
probably
time.
does.
Yeah, of course, the CDU wants that. And yeah, well, we saw the last time that the SPD also wanted it at some point, even though they were very
they changed their leadership over this.
Yeah, the members were very clear about it, very vocal about it, that they didn't want GroKo again, but they didn't give a fuck because it was more important for the SPD to stay in government than to listen to what the members and the voters had to say about it. So I think that's also kind of like a strategic decision to make Laschet, despite all the scandals, the candidate for like the position of like being a chancellor.
I definitely agree with that.
Because the Grünen would never go in a coalition with Söder. I don't see
absolutely
that happening.
Not. You're right. Yeah. And I think that then the thing that then Laschet, so this happened yesterday actually. So we're recording on Wednesday the 28th. On the 27th, Laschet announced that he is giving CDU, you know, absolute, you
sweetheart.
Know, just sweetheart, you know, Mr. Misogyny himself. Friedrich Merz is on his campaign in terms of like economic policy and whatnot, which is, I think that this is the case to show the right of the CDU, that then Laschet is willing to work with the whole party.
Yes.
He will probably plummet even further in the polls because Friedrich Merz is hated not only just internally within the CDU amongst the like progressive CDU, and by progressive CDU I still mean like the light center right, not the right wing of the party.
Not the Werteunion.
Yeah, like Merz is hated like throughout so many different, you know, pockets of German politics. His economic policies are literally just that of hedge funds and like, you know, BlackRock just like giving. I mean, he worked for them, you know, like he's very much a seedy CDU business guy. He's the vice president of the Wirtschaftsrat, which is like this like weird thing of like companies lobbying through the CDU. Through an organization that then is and isn't the CDU simultaneously.
In other countries, it's called corruption. In Western countries, it's called lobbying. We don't have corruption.
Exactly. No, there is. I mean, you know, the CDU had a bunch of corruption last year, but you know, that's already like
that's lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, and that whole scandal just like disappeared from, you know, news stories. And the funniest one to me is that then when Laschet got his nomination, then finally you see Spiegel and a bunch of other like main publications being like talking about Joe Laschet, what, you know, we talked about literally like 4 months ago at the beginning of the year. It's May. It's almost May now. We had an episode about Laschet when he got the head of the party talking about Joe Laschet. So, you know, give us some credit. All right. I know that we technically re-reported a VDS story, but we definitely, I think, you know, deserve credit where credit's due. But yeah, I mean, the CDU stuff, I don't really like. I think it'll become more interesting depending on how well the Greens do and what the direction of the Greens are, which is our next topic, actually. The Greens also decided on their head of the party, crossing massive waves within German media for reasons that I do not seem to understand because it's not that fucking exciting.
They chose Annalena Baerbock as their candidate. Yeah. Which is interesting because
Germany could have its first female Bundeskanzlerin if we just completely ignore the last 16 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, what happened with Merkel?
I don't know. I really like the way that the German media has been reporting on this has been so. It's like, wow, girl power. It's like, I mean, I think it really is kind of the staple of the Merkel Bundeskanzler, you know, time is that she is seen as like this like third entity of not being a woman.
I tell you what this is about. It's actually like what I think this is about, a bit at least, or like maybe not even a bit, maybe a lot. There is this weird kind of like misogynistic thing about the way the news report right now is or like sexist, not necessarily misogynistic, but like, in the sexist way. Yeah.
What's the difference?
You can say both. Yeah. What's the difference actually? Yeah. What's the difference? Is because Annalena Baerbock is younger.
40 years old. She would be the youngest.
Yeah, exactly.
Bundeskanzler in German history, which
she's younger,
that just says a lot for a country.
Yeah, the Green Party is seen as being like a useful party because they have very strong base, like a youth group. The Grüne Jugend, they are very outspoken,
they're like just
very active. So like her being also in I don't know, like maybe people see her more. Yeah, people see Merkel not as, as female as Annalena Baerbock because of Merkel's, I don't know.
Merkel's cold and calculated the way that the Germans their female politicians.
Yeah,
we've talked about this.
That is actually a thing. That is also not only a thing in politics, it's also a thing in business. Where if you want to like get at the top, you have to act. Yeah, you have to act cold. You don't have, you have to basically fight all the stereotypes of women in leading positions, of being too emotional, being this, being that, etc., etc. And I think this is what all the news are about, in that sense, saying like, oh, look at this. This is a young candidate, even though like saying she's 40 years old, she is not like the youngest. Yeah. Like and she's middle-aged woman. Yeah. But we don't have to talk about this. I'm just saying like, of course they're pushing this.
No, we do have to talk about it because the main reaction that then's been from a lot of conservative media and stuff like that in Germany is like, she's a mom too. Can she really be Bundeskanzlerin? And it's like the fact that that's the discussion in Germany, regardless of her garbage politics, which we will talk about, is just like, Angela Merkel has 3 kids, and this has never been a discussion because Merkel's children aren't, like they're her stepkids, whatever, this and that. But Merkel's always had a thing of that then, removing herself from like any womanly responsibilities because like you said, she's just like, Merkel's like this vessel of like liberal politic, and that's all people see her for. Yeah. And now that there is, you're right, someone younger, German media is like hopping on the fact of like, oh, now we get to like finally have this like different type of misogynist politic, the other kind, not just like reducing a woman to then just like, this sexless, entity, but then also the other side of it is that like, she's a woman, can she really do the job? And then, I think that she can't do the job for other reasons.
Exactly. But there have been articles that really focus on her like being not regierungserfahren, so didn't have experience in leading positions, which is funny because Merz was easy like picked as like
as like one of the front runners, and he's never held exactly.
He never had a leading position either, but for her suddenly it's a thing that she never had that.
Being the guy who just like destroys the German economy on behalf of German business is definitely, leadership.
So there's been a lot of like misogyny out there in a lot of articles, not focusing on the thing that actually matters, and that's her like political positions, her policies, like where does she stand? So her policies, this is what we should focus on, not the fact that she's a woman or like
the fact that she doesn't vote on anything is the most bizarre thing to me. Her voting record is that she abstains from everything because this is the most green shit ever. And I think that they've done this in a conscious effort of knowing that they're like gaining this popularity post European Parliament elections. They have just abstained from actually doing policy. So a lot of really big things that they need to kind of have like an opinion about and have policy on, one of them being, deployments of the Bundeswehr, another one being, migrant policy, so on and so forth. Baerbock is not voted. She's abstained her vote on like literally every single thing, along with multiple other people within her party, because I think that they are afraid of that. If we make ourselves look too radical or if we make ourselves look too close to the CDU, then we won't get this other voting block. Because I do think that the Greens are part of like this like weird, like big tent, sort of politic that we're seeing form only really in Germany right now, that you have a Green Party that then could like overwhelmingly win the election, and they don't know what to do right now.
Yeah.
You know, right. On a local level in Berlin, they've supported things like Enteignung, if I'm not mistaken. But in Baden-Württemberg, they've also voted to deport people to Afghanistan. Like they're a mess. They're an absolute mess of a party. And on a national level, they don't really have politic.
Yeah, I mean, their whole thing and what gained their momentum in this whole election is the climate topic, which is actually interesting because they tend to be more about like a green economy kind of thing, like a green capitalism. I mean, we've talked about that several times, not only here, but also on Corner Späti, how there is no real solution, because if you make it only like a climate topic, but you don't add the social element to it, so the social question on like how do you if you get rid of this and that, how do you refund people that are working in these industries, etc., give them jobs, etc. Because climate is always tied to the social question as well.
Yeah, of course. And the green politic for like last election was just like tax breaks for Teslas, which is stupid. Like that's not green politic. That literally is just, you get money for being rich.
Yeah.
You get a cookie for buying a car that's going to like ignite itself in Mitte.
Praise Elon Musk. But
one of the weirdest things. Oh yeah, go on.
No, you can.
One of the weirdest things too has been like that the Greens have really kind of doubled down on their optics as of late.
What do you mean?
One being, they have their. I don't know if you saw this today, but they're trying to do this whole like woke Bundeswehr thing. Of like the Bundeswehr logo with like the pride flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Baerbock has definitely had very, I would argue, bad opinions about that the Bundeswehr needs to be more active and needs to grow, and that Germany needs to spend more on the Bundeswehr.
So the green idea of the Bundeswehr would be the idea of equality and participation for the Greens would be also you can be a soldier in Mali. Wow.
Yeah. My staff sergeant, goes Oberfeldführer, whatever
goes
the fucking German. Goes by they them. Yeah.
Everyone can die for Germany. Everyone can oppress other countries.
You can go murder people in Mali, but you get to choose your gender while you do it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Yeah. It really is this like very much imported from the US like woke capital, woke imperialism.
Yeah.
It's the worst version of it, I would say, because I legitimately think that the Greens are gonna have they've kind of hinted at some of their foreign policy where like Germany needs to be harder on China and harder on Russia to the point where the Greens will not let the Sputnik vaccine into Germany or into Berlin.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, I mean this is a typical thing. What I think she is where you can in which category you can put her military policies is the typical liberal or also conservative, but Atlantic Bridge, also Atlantic Brücke.
Atlanticism is back, baby. Joe Biden's in the White House, and
militarism.
If the Greens become that party, I think that their foreign policy will not be as. I know that this is very weird talking about the Greens with foreign policy because they don't actually have one, but the things that they've hinted to is this like very like stupid humanitarian liberalism.
Exactly.
Which, if you were an actual Green politician, you would be like, I forget her name, who in Ireland. Who during the Navalny stuff was like, we have no right to critique Russia.
Yes.
We have a fucking archipelago of concentration camps in the EU currently with migrants. You know, that's the actual Green policy. Is that then you are like, and I'm like, Russia, problems.
Not saying it's right to poison someone.
But they also are offering a fucking vaccine that they're willing to sell to Europe, and you're not gonna take it because human made up ideas of human rights that you just like are using as whataboutisms.
This is crazy because what does it do? Like we can do this like in general. What do sanctions do? Who is suffering under sanctions, etc., etc. Okay,
not fucking Putin. That's for damn sure.
Not Putin, exactly. So, but with the vaccine, there comes like another interest. It's like trying to, especially with the situation in Germany. I don't get how anyone can fucking block another vaccine because we don't have a vaccine. The only vaccine that we have, but we don't have enough. Yeah. The only one that we have is AstraZeneca, and nobody wants to take it, And that's the thing. And how with the situation going on in Germany with like an Inzidenzwert, I don't know the English word for that.
The rate of COVID per whatever 100,000 people,
and that being above 100 all the fucking time, like the last weeks, and with a lockdown that's been going on for 5 months now, like a half-ass lockdown. How could you even have the idea of blocking a vaccine that could actually help out the German vaccination process?
Because our little PogChamp Alexei Navalny is dying.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean,
people are dying here as well because of COVID-19.
Like literally, like not even just that. It's like, okay, I get that. Then Navalny's a whole fucking thing, but the fact that the fact that Russia is literally going around the world and being like, hey, do you want to buy this vaccine? It works really well. It's going through the processes of being approved by the European Union and whatnot, but you can, we're offering you this, here's how well it's worked, this and that and that. And they're like, no, the only thing that would make sense is, no, we're not going to take it quite yet because we want to have it approved by the European Union. Yeah, fine, I would understand that. That's being safe, that's being responsible. But no, because our little PogChamp is going to die. Is not a reason, because one, the European Union has fucking Hungary, a country that then is just as authoritarian as Russia is. Greece is very much down that authoritarian thing, but Germany has special rules in Greece for little good boy German boys and girls to go and participate in the Greek economy, where Greeks are like in lockdown and cannot leave their fucking house without like a permission to do shit, like. The level of fucking insanity that like the Greens are willing to just like not critique like actual fascism and the Greece thing, not even to mention the sense of just how far right New Democracy is, that you won't go, or like the shit going on in Poland with PIS, this and that and that, that you're gonna hold your house upon the hill idea of democracy in this very American style of. No, we stand up for human rights. Well, then there's literally human rights violations daily in your own dumb fucking continent. Is just it's Americanism. It's just like Atlanticism. We're gonna get it with this party. I hate this party. Like, I'm sorry, anyone. Like, I mean, I know that then I've said multiple times on the show that then like the Greens are maybe like the better choice compared to the things of what the other parties are because of the coalitions that they could build. I don't know if I mean that really anymore. At least I know what garbage I'm going to get in with if the CDU controls. Like, Germany will still suck, in its own ways whatsoever. The SPD is, shooting themselves repeatedly in the foot. And now the stuff with Olaf Scholz and the Wirecard scandal, which we're not going to talk about on here. We're going to, reserve it for an actual Späti episode. Like the SPD is not remotely gonna have a chance of building a coalition with anyone. They'll probably be like the third strongest party in Germany. The FDP and the SPD could potentially, So I really am uncomfortable with this party taking the reins, having the stuff that they're saying the last 2 weeks, because they've gotten a little boost of confidence.
I mean, the idea is basically, as you said, there's like, or as I said, the Atlantic Brücke kind of like being interested in this like status quo that was American-German politics before Trump happened.
Yeah.
Going back to that, while America is focusing on being strong against China, Germany is supposed to, or the EU is supposed to be focusing on being, strong against, or showing strength against Russia.
So and China, I guess, simultaneously.
Yeah, I know, but that's I'm just saying, like, they do, that's this Arbeitsteilung, so
Oh yeah,
dividing
of course,
up the work.
Yeah, dividing up the work of imperialism, baby.
Yes. So I think she wouldn't be opposed of having German troops in, for example, Latvia on the Russian.
Oh, the Latvians would
border.
Fucking love
they
to have
would love
that.
It because she also isn't opposed. She's also flirting with this idea of a European, like an EU army. So I think what she really likes is all this like multilateral thing of the UN. That's why she didn't oppose. Actually, she didn't oppose the Bundeswehr-Einsatz, the deployment of the Bundeswehr in Mali, because she thinks, because it's a UN mission. So everything that has like this multilateral character, I think she's down for it, in the sense of, it must be good because like it's all of us in one room, So
again, the Greens are politics for if you are a complete ideologue.
Yeah.
And I know that
if you wear a
Merkel
fucking
is
EU flag sweater,
exactly.
The Greens,
it's the party for the EU flag sweater.
Yeah. So you can have a sunflower and an EU flag in your Twitter bio, then you probably vote the Greens.
Yeah, and I think that then, like, in comparison to the EU idealism we've seen from Merkel, which is like, I think, still a bit more pragmatism when then dealing with the EU's foreign policy, having a somewhat peaceful, constructive relationship with Russia, being okay with Chinese investment, stuff like that, while then simultaneously having too much faith within the European Union, like we've seen with the vaccine roll-up that like she and von der Leyen...
Never trust Ursula von der Leyen.
Yeah, that they just like literally single-handedly botched, it seems like. Which is like, like that's weirdly different than the sense of this Atlanticism. I'm not saying that then that Merkel hasn't been pro-NATO or that she hasn't been pro-America, but I think that there's like a bit of this sense of that she's smarter and knows how to that then like for in the sake of her own country's politic, it makes a lot more sense to work with China and work with Russia, where I think that then like Baerbock and the Greens having this like have never governed. They've never governed on a national level. Yes, you can say during
the with the SPD.
Where they had like 4 cabinets. Do you really think that counts? Like, I mean, govern.
Außenminister Joschka Fischer. That's a big position for.
I know that it is.
But also I mean. When the Greens were governing, you can also if you look at Rüstungsexporte, so like what's it called?
Weapons exports.
Yeah, weapons exports. Yeah. Of course, I know that. Weapons export. They actually had, I think, one of like the highest amount of weapons export during the Greens being like. Being in a governing position in Germany.
Yeah, so, getting involved in Afghanistan was also a thing of the, when the German Greens were a part of the coalition. I mean, they didn't go to Iraq, and they were like, no, that's, but like, German troops are in Afghanistan still.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So they're not really opposed to that, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that then the sense of this Atlanticism stuff is just going to transfer over in a much dumber, way. Because this trend is very much cool within, like, it really is. I really genuinely get the vibe that it is like American liberals, dictating the conversation of what the Greens do, and not saying that they're like in positions or whatever, but that then that the people who are in the higher position of the Greens, who are then currently in the policy making things, are. I think a bunch of nerds who then look to the U.S. as, the current U.S. under Biden, with the like progressive, quote unquote progressive members of Congress, this and that, who are all imperialists and all have pretty much horrible politic. They're looking at that as the way to go forward. And it literally is just the same old bullshit. But yeah, like we mentioned of that, then, my drill sergeants, they, them, and, like woke capitalism is I fear worse because it's just more dishonest than just actual, just on the face shit capitalism, like what the CDU does. Yeah, I'm not really, I was optimistic for about 2 minutes with the Greens, and it's really, I'm concerned because of their lack of know-how, their willingness to just kind of like, refresh their party and make it this Atlanticist project. And I think it's going to allow the CDU to become really strong after this election as well, because the CDU will regroup and then like know what their identity is then as a party afterwards. Like, yeah, the CDU will like not govern for the second time in their history, possibly. But they always seem to bounce back, and I think that they'll be able to know what their identity is a little bit better. And I think the CDU too can also use this woke capital thing. The Greens. There was a site article about the Greens are the better CDU. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, same. Even though like, I mean, I don't think that it will happen. Unfortunately, having red green as as the governing coalition. I'm just saying, I know. I mean, the biggest criticism of the Greens, like from a left-wing perspective, of course, comes from Die Linke, the left party.
Yeah.
And I mean, and their biggest issues with the Greens are what I said, like the social question, making climate policies without considering, social effects and the social situation in Germany or in general in the world, in a global perspective as well. Also, the militarism, because Die Linke is very outspoken about being against any kind of Auslandseinsatz or like deployment of the German army in any country that is not Germany, even in Germany, you don't want military on the street. But yeah, saying that they are against any kind of like a deployment in foreign countries, of course. So this is a big issue, and I don't know if they would ever agree on that, or if they would ever make a compromise when it comes to that, because this is a very strong position that the left has, rightfully so.
I see it either being the two coalition possibilities, that the Greens do the ultimate, Chad move, and they just accept that they're the CDU, and they work with the CDU, and they plummet their party into the polls next election.
But thinking about why I think it's kind of like when they chose Annalena Baerbock, it was kind of like a sign that they were not actually going for the Baden-Württemberg situation of having...
They're doing a very bad job of showing that.
I know, but I mean, oh, come on. You can go with the Social Democrats because they have those like foreign policies as well. And,
the SPD
Christian Lindner already said, hey, I'm looking forward to having interesting discussions with the Green Party, which already means, hey, let's be friends, let's exchange ideas during the whole campaign, which I think is kind of like, it's kind of like trying to get close to the Greens.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually a very like, what's it called? Well, it didn't sound very critical of the Greens, saying like, oh, let's exchange ideas. This is reaching out. This is like offering a nice high five to the Greens, saying like, hey, I see you.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say, in the sense of the coalition I think is the most likely is the traffic light coalition of the the Greens leading it with the SPD and the FDP.
Yeah.
Which would be horrible. You know, the SPD is a shell of anything social democratic. They're a neoliberal garbage institution. I think that then it's weird because depending on which state you live in, though, I would still say that then like vote for the SPD simply in the sense of just like, please, for the love of God, maybe we can have a working class party again. Like if you like, you're from NFA. All right. I can definitely understand in the perspective if you're an NFA and you have like leftist politics, but you know that the left has no fucking chance of sucking it up and rather voting for the SPD rather than voting for the Greens because you're at least certain in the ideology that you're going to get from the SPD. And there is at least an internal conflict in the SPD of returning it back to some semblance of a working class party. Kevin Kunart's the best example of that. Yep. You know, and I think the people who do vote SPD in NFA, for example, are you know, socialist light, at least. They're not this, I wouldn't say that they're like the Schröder type of, you know, big third way-ism. There is a lot of people, like your parents, for example, working class backgrounds who, you know, union membership, this and that and that. Yeah. And the SPD, to be very fair, has a lot of influence within the unions, something the Greens do not have. The Greens have the activist thing, which isn't a thing. There is no actual politic that's there. There's you know, Extinction Rebellion, which is like a like startup gentrifier, you know, thing of an actual discussion about the climate and capitalism, you know?
Yeah, when I think of Extinction Rebellion, I just think of like performance. It's
all it is.
Performance, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's this
100%.
Weird, like bourgeois kind of protest, performance protest. Yeah. Just like a symbol, you know. Oh, I'm getting carried away by the police, you know. But I'm not resisting arrest, and you know, that's Extinction.
That's the perfect summary though of the Green Party of Germany. They really are. They're bourgeois. They're very conservative on a lot of issues. But you voted for the Greens, dog. You care. You care. You know, it becomes a very individual thing at that point. It's not like there is no collective working class movement with the Greens. They're not a working class party. They've always been the party in Berlin of the bougie people who didn't want to vote CDU or FDP, you know, who probably don't back their kids.
Green candidate in Kreuzberg, Friedrichshain-Kreuzberg. Shout out to our squatter friend.
Yeah, but that's like 1 in a million.
That's true. You know, this is it's fascinating, especially when it comes to the militarism part, because of course the Greens did come out of the climate movement, the anti-nuclear movement, and also the anti-war movement. You know, hippies.
All these things that the Greens have doubled down on that they're not going to do.
They did in the whole process. Actually, we could have said that like years ago that this is the direction they were going in, because they were trying to get rid of any kind of radical ideas in their party, which means, of course, getting rid of the right, which they did, you know, of the far right, because it was a movement before. You had all kind of ideas and all kind of political
you had like eco-fash, all that. Yeah. You had the pedophiles.
Yeah. And then later on, getting rid of the left radicalism in their party. So this is what we have now. It's this weird centrist kind of,
woke capital.
Woke capital.
That's it. Yeah, woke capital, and you get to feel good about voting the Greens.
Yeah.
And I guess on that note, that's a good place to leave off. Sorry, not very optimistic, but you know, German politics aren't very optimistic right now. I'm pissed being in continuous lockdown forever. So
where's my Sputnik 5?
The fucking Greens. Where's my goddamn Russian vaccine? I could have probably had it by now, but no, apparently it's a human rights violation. Anyway,
vaccinating people is a human rights violation.
I mean, according to maybe some people in the Greens, they say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will, you know, check in with you guys in a couple of weeks, let you know how it's going over here in, you know, Europe's, future, which is Baden-Württemberg. And see you guys on either the bonus feed or the main feed. Take care.
Take care. Bye.